Gave Jonathan a heads up just in case we have to switch. Is it 9:15? Almost. All right. We will begin the ASPAR hearing of May 1st, 2026, and we'll begin with any public comment not pertaining to items in today's agenda. Anybody online or in the audience?
Madam Chair, I see no hands raised. If anybody would like to make a public comment, please raise your hand in the chat. Seeing none?
Okay, and just a reminder to anyone in the audience, I think many have submitted speaker slips. Anyone that would like to speak can put a speaker slip in the box. And Alex, do you mind handing them to me just so I make sure none are for general public comment? Thank you. For an item, I think. Yeah. Okay, we'll close general public comment and move on to the agenda status report.
Nothing to report for the agenda status report.
Okay, and moving on to review of the minutes from April 17th. Is this the one I have to recuse? And just to check, Willow, do we have you on?
Yes, I'm here.
Morning.
Good morning.
Does anybody have any
I
revision?
just have one for the last item, which was consider changing the color of the pole for the pole sign to fit better with the logo. I think that's fine. I think it was just making it clear that we're not recommending to do that. It's just an option if they wanted to look at it.
Okay.
But we like the green, I think was.
Yeah, I think maybe it's a one member commented,
Yeah.
maybe that written that way.
Yeah, and additionally, what about the comment about the white background being too bright? Does that mean that they're not going to approve something if it comes back with a white background?
I think the comment was more like consider ways to soften the like bright white of the sign. I think maybe C and D can be combined, because it wasn't that we were requiring it to be a different color. Yeah. I think the comment was kind of like consider ways to soften the brightness of the sign, whether through color, temperature, or background color. I think that's kind of how we said it.
Okay, cool.
Does that seem right?
Yeah, I just didn't want them to be confused. I'm thinking that if they come back with a white background, they're not going to get it approved.
Yeah, because that's not what we said. I think it was just a consideration. Any other? Oops. Okay. Do we have a motion to approve with the amended minutes?
So moved.
The second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And no abstentions. Everyone was here. Okay, and we'll move on to ASPAR members' informational briefings. Anybody have anything?
I just have a comment, some of the projects that we get, like they are like, like 70 pages, we only need to see about 6.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if there's a way to kind of explain to the applicants that we don't need to see the Title 24 documentations or the specs or this other stuff that, makes the whole process so much slower to review, So this is a comment to the whoever's in charge of, I mean, if this like
the intake, yeah.
the intake, so this kind of like a package that is SBAR review that, we can always ask for more, but usually we need the site plan, the more than anything, the site plan, the elevations, maybe the sections, maybe some details later on, the materials, but that's it. We don't need to see all this other stuff that clocks.
Rating and lighting, the things that we look at.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So anyways,
Comment.
thanks.
Trying to remember, I had one more. Oh, I was also just wanted to ask staff if it's possible to when complex projects come through. I know normally I think it's just procedure to have a planner memo if there's a variance or modification being asked, but also if it's a complicated planning process. I was wondering if, I don't want to, I know this is asking for more work on your guys' end, but if it was easy enough to include a planner memo when there's a complex process going through, I think that would help us know what level of approval and what type of comments we should be making at that step if it's not our normal conceptual prelim final straight
Right.
through process. Any other Aspire info? I need to recuse from item 2 and 5. Does anyone else have any recusals?
I have to leave by noon.
Okay, we'll do our best to be done, and I think we'll have a quorum even if you have to go. Okay. All right, we'll move on to staff update.
No update from me. Thanks.
Okay, sounds good. All right, we will begin the standard agenda. Item 1, the Agonius edition. Sorry if I the applicant here. Okay, I'll read the description. Request of Esteban Balakian, agent for Jillian Agonius, here for preliminary and final review of an addition of approximately 550 square foot addition to the existing single family dwelling, a new 844 square foot garage, and a new 1,376 square foot deck, as well as an interior and exterior remodel. The following structures exist on the parcel currently. The residence of approximately 2,679 total square feet. The proposed project does not require any cut or fill, and it's a 12,196 square foot parcel located at 2851 Vista Elevada Street in Mission Canyon area. There were previous comments. I'll read through them since they're not too long. Project represents an improvement to overall existing condition, over existing condition, study pulling in roof overhang. Site plan needs to clearly show difference between existing and proposed and show adjacent development. All landscaping to screen wall, add landscaping to screen walls and return with lighting details. All right, you can go ahead and state your name and explain how you responded to the comments.
Okay, so A is just represents an improvement, so appreciate that. Item B is staple in roof overhang. And my response is that the roof overhang has been pulled in. The previous design can be seen as the red dashed line on sheet A154, which is page 27 on the PDF, relative to the adjusted proposed roof overhang.
Okay.
Good. So C, site plan needs to clearly show difference between existing and proposed and show adjacent development. My response is that the existing site plan is shown on sheet A101, which is page 17. And the proposed site plan is A102, which is next page 18. Yep. And the neighboring residence is shown on both sheets, and all adjacent development is shown on the plot plan, which is A100, is sheet 16. Yep.
Okay.
Okay. The next one, add landscaping to screen walls. My response is that the landscaping has been added in front of the screen walls, and also included is a landscape plan on sheet L001, which is page 68. So that's the landscape plan, and then the landscape legend is on the next sheet, L002. And also present are landscape renderings on L003, which is the next sheet. Right there. And then the next item, return with lighting details. And so lighting details and renderings are provided on sheet A652, which is 57. So the details are on the left and then the renderings obvious. And then the lighting types are also labeled on the elevations, which is A451, page 47. And 452, next sheet. And also on the ceiling plans, sheet A250, which is page 31. And the next sheet as well, A251. Those are all the comments.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to questions from the board. And just really quick off the bat, did you have any cut sheets for the lighting or any like manufacturer?
No.
Okay.
Should I bring that?
Y- It would be good so we can like see that it's dark sky compliant. But we'll get into more in a second. I just
sure.
wanted to see if we had missed the sheet. Any other questions from the board?
This is the first time I'm seeing the project. So what level did they come in for last time? Was it,
I believe they came in for conceptual and then their agenda is for prelim final if they have all, so they have a chance at final if they have all their details here.
okay.
Yep, actually, it should say,
It does say prelim and final.
yeah, it doesn't, but it doesn't say what it came for last time. So it probably just got positive comments from conceptual.
Yeah, can we go through the details really quick?
So details, sheet A751 is page 53.
We have yeah,
Is that right?
interior elevations and keep going up maybe. No, maybe down. Keep going.
Yeah.
Interior elevations. Okay, yeah. Well, no.
This is actually an example of too many pages for us.
No, you're talking to me.
Yeah,
Do you have,
Yeah.
are there wall sections or anything kind of going from the large scale to the smaller scale?
Yeah, so
yeah,
help
I
us
saw
start
them go
on
by.
A501. You can
There,
see
there,
those
there.
are the
Yep.
details there as well. Yeah.
The window details usually. Yeah, keep going. Next one. No. Yeah, you have window details, right? Yeah, you must have some. Next one. Yeah, the
Railing.
canopy. Yeah. How about one more?
Do you-
Yeah, corners. Okay,
Corner.
keep going. Well, okay,
Mm.
close enough. Okay.
Okay. Any other questions from the board?
Can we see the building elevations?
Elevations are start on A4111, but those are existing. If you just want to see new,
Yeah.
they
actually-
are
Existing and then new would be a good
Okay.
refresher.
411 and then just keep scrolling
Okay,
down.
so that's existing. Okay, and then that's existing.
Mhm.
Okay, and there's the
Demo. And there's a new.
and the addition is mainly where?
If you're looking at 451 at the top left,
To the second floor?
right, so see the roof, there's a line on the roof.
Mhm,
That's anything to the left of the line is the addition.
okay.
And that whole new bank of windows is new too, right?
Correct.
And then the garage down below is,
The garage is, it's currently a carport and it's just enclosing the carport and proposing the garage.
One question. Can we go to sheet 54, the landscape lighting? It looked like there's landscape lighting proposed. Could you show where those are proposed?
The lighting renderings?
It's on the sheet 54. It looks like it's calling out a number of landscape lights that are proposed. Oh, the other set, sorry,
Yeah.
the landscape. Sorry about that. Yeah, the second sheet. Yep, that one where it says landscape lighting, it says a number of like 16, 15 of them. Do we know the locations of those?
Let me look at it really fast. I didn't do the lighting or the landscaping personally, so I'm not as familiar with those sheets, but let me look at those.
Okay.
I think that can come up in
Right.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, well, if we have no more questions, we'll move on to public comment. Is there anyone that would like to speak on this item from online or in the audience?
If you'd like to make a public comment on this item in the chat, please raise your hand. Madam Chair, we have no letters submitted and nobody signed up for public comment.
Okay, we'll close public comment and move on to comments from the board. Start with Alex.
Can you show the renderings, please? What page would it be? The other ones, well, the elevation, yeah, the first page shows the elevation, the rendering of the elevation, right? The title one, the title page.
Oh.
The cover sheet.
Yeah,
There's two
yeah,
packages.
yeah, there you go. Can you blow that up? Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I think it's a very nicely conceived and executed addition, and I'm perfectly fine with it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Val?
Yeah, I agree. The drawings they're a little hard for us to read. Not only in their volume, but even just the clarity of showing what's existing, what's proposed, and the architectural details. But I think you've got it very worked out, and you've certainly put a lot of energy into making this design. So, yeah, I support it.
Thank you.
I agree with the previous comments. I like the architecture a lot. I think it's a vast improvement from what's there. I think you've done a great job with kind of the overall aesthetic of it. In terms of final approval and detailing, I think there's a lot of work left to be done. Like I can't see how this is getting built from the current set of drawings. So I think there's just a lot of details and stuff I just don't understand where they're at and how it gets carried out from the rendering through the construction process. Things like railing details. I saw one railing detail, but you know how it connects. We got 2 or 3 different conditions there. Looks like you got metal boxes that are on the wall. I didn't see any details for that. I don't know if I'm missing them or if they're just not there. The whole window fenestration. So a lot of details I thought were missing, but I think beautiful design.
Yeah, I agree with the comments on the architecture. Yeah, a little hard to understand some of the drawings, or just kind of get through them. But I think focusing on landscape, I think there's a lot going on with the landscape plan. It looks like there's missing some lighting symbols and a big palette of plant. I agree it's an improvement to what's there, but I kind of wish that the landscape would kind of elevate to the architecture a little bit. Right now it's very busy. And so maybe looking at the landscape plan a little closer, I think we'll need MWLO water use calculations. It looks like it's a full revamp of the landscape plan. And then a lighting plan that shows the location of the lights. I will say, just a warning, we don't allow uplights typically in Santa Barbara County, basically throughout. So those won't be allowed to be submitted.
I was looking at the uplight symbol and I couldn't find it on the landscape plan. So I think that's probably just a generic symbol on the legend that they throw in there.
Okay. I'll give you 1 minute at the end once we do comments if you want to clarify anything.
And that, yeah, so a full MWLO package, I think water use calculations and irrigation plan would be good just before you submit, but otherwise, nice project.
Robert?
I agree with the positive comments on the architecture. The landscape plan is kind of unnecessarily busy. Is the lawn area existing or is that something that's being added in?
The lot area?
Lawn,
Lawn.
turf, lawn.
It's all existing.
It's
yeah.
existing. Okay. And this is a high fire area project too, correct? So, yeah, I would double check that all your landscape meets the requirements, because there's a zero zone that they're enforcing now, which doesn't allow any planting within 5 feet of the building. So make sure you kind of run that through your landscape plan, make sure all your plants are fit into the requirements for a high fire area. It generally looks like they do, but I think there might be a couple that don't. Yeah, you need an irrigation plan with all the water use stuff, so. I don't have anything else to add, so.
I agree with the previous comments. I'll just reiterate. I think there's additional detailing needed for the architectural details to get final. And then same with landscaping, just some additional detailing needed in the irrigation plan. We don't technically require the WELO for approval, but it's really tricky. There's not a way to come back to us easily if it doesn't meet the requirements. And so that's why we ask for it for final, so that we can confirm that it all meets the requirements. And so, and you're going to need it in the next step no matter what. So it's best to just get ahead of it so you don't have to come back to us.
What was that?
So it's for the irrigation, it's WELO, the water efficiency, blah, blah, blah. But it calculates how much water use you'll need for your irrigation.
Okay.
So, and then again, also with the fire requirements, just checking all of that. So your agenda is for prelim and final. Does the board feel like they could come back final on consent if all the details are aligned?
Yes.
Okay. So do we have a motion for?
Motion for preliminary approval with the final on consent, with the comments made. Okay.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Great. Oh, you know what? I promised you one more minute to respond to anything. I'm sorry, applicant two. Did you want to clarify anything?
Just if it's possible to be as specific as possible about what's required for the details beyond what's already in the set of plans.
Window details, railing details, mostly the overhangs, the basic details, basic
Yeah.
exterior details, right? Yeah.
But if you have a lot of different conditions, maybe more details.
Where you transition materials, it's nice
Yeah.
to see how you transition materials, you know, from different material to different material, how that comes together.
Okay, more details.
You're like, more work,
more.
more work. Okay. Item number 2 is Gratitude Canyon Youth Camp. Go ahead and, yeah, sure, come up here. And I'll go ahead and read the description of it. I know we have a lot of community interest, so we'll have opportunities for people to speak. Everyone will get 3 minutes to speak. And if you haven't already made a speaker slip, make one now. So this is the request of SEPS Land Use Consulting, agent for the owner, Gratitude Canyon LLC, to consider case number 26 BAR for conceptual review of a youth summer camp with 8 cabins, counselor housing, a director's residence, gymnasium, dining hall, pool, and associated landscaping improvements of approximately 55,350 square feet. The following structures exist on the parcel: 22,833 square feet of residence, agricultural storage, and accessory structures. The proposed project will require approximately 7,295 cubic yards of cut and same amount of fill. Property is 110.37 acre parcel zoned Ag 2 100 at 183 Winchester Canyon Road. Go ahead and state your names for the record and
Sure.
make your presentation.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Steve Welton from SEPS Land Use Consulting. And Radke and Elena Fraser from Blackbird Architects.
Angela Lerke, owner.
Derek Eichelberger with Arcadia Studio. I'm sitting in on this for Kaylee, and Justin Manuel will be making the presentation for us.
And I'm Justin Manuel.
Okay.
Okay, well, thank you. We're really excited to be here with you today. We do have a slide presentation because there's several buildings here and a good amount of landscaping, so we thought it'd be a little more efficient to go through a slide deck. We're really excited to be here for this project. It's going to provide children some truly meaningful experiences and opportunities to explore their creativity and experience camping, some of them for the first time. It'll benefit our country too, but our county's youth from Santa Maria, Goleta, down to Carpinteria. The plan is just for a little bit of background for the kids to be bussed in on Mondays and stay the week, leaving on a Friday. We're looking about 4 kids per counselor with a structured daily program. And we're also anticipating that during the off season, it could be used by other nonprofits and schools. You filed a major conditional use permit, a tentative map, a rezone, and a general plan amendment. So a whole host of applications. And so we're going to be going before the Planning Commission and the Board of Supervisors. So they'll be in charge of some of those land use issues that you're probably reading about in the letters. We received our first feedback letter from the county. So over the next couple of weeks, we intended to put our response back together and resubmit. We've been working on this for about 2.5 years now, Angela. And a lot of thought has gone into the site design and the siting of the actual camp itself. Because it's Santa Barbara, virtually every project has fire concerns these days, and safety is a top priority for our applicant team. We've had the county fire officials out there 3 times with us to help identify things that they want in the plan. And we've engaged a private fire consultant led by Robert Lewin. He was former chief of the San Luis Obispo County Fire, and he's also was the director of the County Office of Emergency Management. So they know the local area very well. We've also engaged a professional biologist, noise professional, archaeologist, geologist, all the ologists, and a traffic engineer, just to ensure that we're consistent with all the county and state policies and make sure that we're following the rules of CEQA. So with that, I'd like to introduce Angela Lurke, the president of the Firework Foundation.
Thank you, Steve, and thank you all for your time and for letting us be here today. As he mentioned, I'm the owner and the executive director of the Firework Foundation, and we're really excited about this project. As Steve mentioned, it's already been about 2.5 years, and we've been putting a lot of time and thought and effort into this. The foundation was something that my sister and I started together over 10 years ago, with the mission and the goal of being able to give back to the community, from kids from underserved communities to, help expose them to the arts and to nature. And this is, a dream and a goal of something that we've had for a very long time, wanting to plant our own flag and have our own facilities. That we've been running programs now since 2019. And so we want to continue to do that and bringing more kids from around Santa Barbara County and surrounding areas to this camp. And one special thing that I'll say about this property and the connection that we've had, the former owner, you may or may not know, was Patricia Bragg, and it was Bragg Farms. And we grew up with Patricia. We're both, 3rd generation Santa Barbarians, born at Goleta Valley Cottage Hospital. And Patricia was a great family friend of ours. And she knew, my family and my sister. She actually gave my sister her very first guitar at 13. And we also like to say she was the reason we weren't allowed to eat at McDonald's, because she was a leader of the health food movement. But we grew up coming to this property and spending time here. And she knew about the Firework Foundation and the work that we've been doing for all these years and the vision that we've had, and wanted us to be able to continue that, as well as continue her legacy and incorporating, the farm and the legacy of the farm and the orchard and everything into it. And so that the next generation can continue to learn and to have that opportunity. So thank you again for your time. And I'm going to pass it on to Ken with Blackbird.
Thank you, Angela. And thank you, Madam Vice Chair and members of the board for being here. We really appreciate it. Gratitude Canyon, again, gratitude for everything. We're going to run through quite a number of slides here that you will recognize. And we, as a CUP kind of review,
it's overarching and it's a moderately large site. So we'll go through a lot of different viewpoints of the project quickly, and if there are questions and so forth, we're going to be here. So
And also, we've been able to review them ahead of time, so it's not our first.
understood. Point taken. We'll go even faster then. So we'll go. You can see the overview here. Go a couple slides forward. That was actually go one back. That's Angela's slide. And these youth groups aged 10 to 13, really, medium format, super sweet in those formative years. And this will typically be their first sleepaway type camp. So it's really a social arts program. Next. Two forward, this one, next one. So this is the big overview of the vicinity. This property of 113 acres is bounded on the north by Winchester Canyon, on the east by the Cathedral Oaks, and on the south by Cayo Real and Highway 101. And you'll recognize this neighborhood. Next. Oh, just one slide at a time. Yeah. Next. So then here, just showing this image of what the site development looks like now. So you have that in your mind, and we'll go next. The existing site and how that gets developed. You can see it's a kind of a quasi-dormant existing orchard in the middle there. And if we go to the next, you can see the setting. Looking to the south towards the ocean. You can see this sort of valley holler type of setting that rise there 80 feet and 420 feet is really critical to the way the site works. It's a naturally vegetated hillside full of poison oak, as many have pointed out. If you do a site walk, be careful. That hillside there really is helpful to the setting and posing a natural sort of visual boundary between the neighborhoods and the site. Next, looking to the north, you'll see the same thing: the hillside and the mountain views and the traffic infrastructure to the south. Next. This slide just shows where all the photos are, and go next. Each of these photos has a setup so you can see where it's taken. Here, look on Winchester Canyon, looking to the west. This just shows the entire northern part of the site has these fully developed oak trees and screening. It's a beautiful site, and the sort of what rings the site is really part of the program of nature, interpretive, and so forth. Next. This is the existing site entry to be maintained as the main entry for the project as proposed. Again, coming through these willows and the creek is to the right, and this native and non-native species really dense here. Next. You come into the site. Next. This is where you would arrive if you were visiting there last week. We had neighbor meetings recently, including an on-site meeting that was held right there. This is where a turnaround would be located in the proposed plan, and you can see the setting. You can see that vegetated hillside in the background to the east, and those are the second stories of the neighbors across Cathedral Oaks. Next. These are existing sort of structures on the site, modest structures serving the current and former ag property. Those modest structures will be removed. Next. This is looking south and east at the toe or of this slope. And the toe of this slope is really where we've located the two sort of medium-sized buildings, the small dining and the small gym, so that they're tucked into that hillside, kind of facing back towards the west. Next. looking to the east from the far side of the site, you can really see just the sort of sense of openness and green here. Next. Looking to the north, you can see the mountains. Next. Looking to the south towards Cayo Real and the freeway. Interestingly, everything that we're looking at here is below the development part of the site. So all of that terrain over there is to remain as is. Next. Next. Classic sort of Ian McHarg design with nature overlay for constraints as we go through these next slides. Next. Here, I think this is the first big ones. There's a real creek there, also full of poison oak, and a setback from that. But these features are part of, again, sort of interpretive adjacency and proximity to nature, part of the program of the camp. Next, you can see also that kind of purple line cutting across the middle, their coastal boundary. And as you all will know, that poses some important constraints to be avoided. And you can see also the blue overlay on the bottom means that it's kind of wetland. It's not really wet when you go down there, but it's marked on the county. So if we go next, this is the terrain. You can see the easiest spot to go is right there where we're proposing to work. It's a camp, so terrain and accessibility sort of being exemplary in terms of accessibility throughout the site is a big deal for the owners of the property, and also trying to make it easy to maintain and run because it's a nonprofit with not a lot of funding from outside sources. So it's really important that it be straightforward to realize and operate. Next. This proposed project area is in the space available, essentially, bounded on 3 sides by sort of natural open space. Next. 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 You can see the sort of the dimensions. It's about 400 feet by 1,300 feet. These structures are spread out, not densely throughout the site. Next. Again, the overview of what's here. I think we could just go straight to the next. This is clear. There are buildings and site features. Next. I think this slide is really good for understanding what's going on here. We have 2 access points from Winchester Canyon Road, and the sort of the open space is really what the whole project is about, is running around outside and interacting with other kids, art, music. So you can arrive from the primary entry in the existing sort of site access point. We're proposing a second service entry that would be a secondary way of accessing the site, and that would just allow the occasional deliveries and then sort of like staff parking to go there. These roads, generally this is a pedestrian site. Everything is happening on foot. There's no cars, or there might be a few golf carts or something, here for the staff, but generally that road there has 2 main purposes. One is to like get in and out on move-in day when the kids come with their bags and stuff, and also really importantly for a resiliency and access. It is a powerful spine to get in and out with secondary ways to move around the site, but also the reason this flat site is picked is so that emergency vehicles and so forth can get in and out and protect the place. Next. This main central green is where things like dining and multipurpose gym would face, and everything is sort of facing out to that. The pool, like half-court gym. You'll see down below there's tennis courts and pickleball proposed, and the green spaces. Next. Cabins. Each cabin can hold 20 campers with counselors there who stay overnight with them. Next. camp features, a little swimming pool, archery, running around and just running around, frisbee, a dining hall, a gym, a small building for art and a small building for recording studio, and just getting that music hit here next. These two sheets that show the section, which we think is really critical. Again, this is an accurate section. This terrain varies as you move along up and down the site, but up above you can see the proposed dining building, which is a kind of a farm barn. And you can see that vegetated hillside and Cathedral Oaks up at the left, and a two-story building rendered there in shape. This terrain, again, we're 80 feet down from there. And so much of what happens on this site won't be visible or hearable from off-site. But the owners are very mindful of being good neighbors here. So that's part of the deal. Next, this is a section at a different point where you see on the left of the section up above is a cabin. So a cabin with their little porches. It's cutting right through the tennis courts in this section, and you can see it's a little bit shorter, the hillside there, but the vertical terrain is still the same, and Cathedral Oaks is still 80 feet wide. Next. Thank you, Google. This is the view as you come along here. Next. You can see the site is to the left and the neighborhood to the right. Next. The houses are there. Generally speaking, the view into the site, even from the road, which is closer, isn't great, but there are spots where you can see the property. Next. The vocabulary. This gives you this overview again, which I think is helpful as a picture. It is all to scale. The topic of resiliency and so forth is a big one. If we go to the next, the palette is this rustic agricultural core 10, muted colors, metal roofs, metal siding, fiber cement siding, in muted colors to just pull down into the landscape and not to really be a major feature of the identity. We're also proposing that these buildings be modular and pre-engineered steel buildings, again, much like an agricultural setup might be. That has a few virtues. It's a really great sustainable way to do things. It is quicker and easier to build, and so the length of a construction period would be significantly reduced. And then yeah, I mean, that's the main virtues. Everything in here is essentially non-combustible. So when we see things that look sort of like wood, it's really intended to be composites and so forth that have that earthiness to them. Next. If you just look at some of these structures next. Everything on the site is a one-story structure. So this is a director's residence. They look very modest in elevation when projected like this. But again, the virtue of these is big covered patios and porches. Typically, they're going to be like 1, 2, or 2.5 feet above the existing grades. So they kind of have that porch feeling. Next. This dining and gym are probably the two larger structures on the property. Next. Again, the defining feature of everything here is porch, indoor-outdoor relationships, looking at the green, looking at the other campers and counselors, and just relating to each other, being away from electronic devices and so forth to the greatest extent possible, and being outside. Next. Here you can see again, this is cafeteria seating, camp kitchen, covered porch to the outside. Next. And kind of the barn with clear stories, and this half-court gym, if you will, allows volleyball and other activities to happen. These buildings are also focused out away from the hillside, away from the neighborhood, so that kids having fun aren't sending their joyful noises to the neighborhood as much. Next. Arts and crafts, again, these very, very simple structures intended to relate to the landscape. The virtue are the porches and the covered outdoor spaces. Next. Cabins, next. Porches. They're kind of set up with these back-to-back shapes on the inside so that they're divided into smaller groups with a lot of counselor attention. Everybody is essentially spending their time on site and just hanging out, summer camp. Next. Yeah, the plan. Next. The landscape architecture and landscape design, a lot of attention has been given to this. I'm doing it proper. And so Justin and Arcadia can describe.
So starting with the creek on the west, we really wanted to extend the native oak and sycamore stand. So pulling that from the creek towards the cabin on the west side, getting to the middle of the camp, we started to introduce more adapted shade trees and accent trees to highlight some of the program features. And then on the far east side, we really took advantage of trying to relocate some of the existing more productive fruit trees that are on site. So the entire edge along the east side are fruit trees leading down to the small amphitheater, which is letter I, and then continuing south to the much larger transplanted fruit orchard at letter L, where our intention is to kind of blur the edge of the programmed camp with the edge of the existing fruit orchard at that coastal zone line. Next slide. We kind of zoom into the north area where we're highlighting the main entrance, which is letter A, with a more intentional paving leading to the drop-off zone at letter D. And then we also accent it with, or we highlight it with accent trees and accent landscape. Next slide. At the center of the site, the central quad, which is letter E, this is surrounded by pedestrian paving, just a light touch, which is our predominant paving on site. And then the lighter paving is the vehicular paving, which is a more recessive, just kind of crushed gravel to blend into the landscape. We're also, this is where most of our accent trees and canopy trees are, where most of the program for the camp is to kind of screen some of those areas and shade some of those areas within our fire zone tolerances. Next slide. Here this is where the cabins are with that secondary gathering area surrounded by our predominant pedestrian paving that follows the camps on the east side, trying to leave as little impact on the creek west side of the camps so that that area can be our really nature area where we're enhancing a lot of the native understory, and we've got that ESHA buffer as well. This is where most of the big oak and sycamore stand will be. And then next slide. This is our hardscape plan. We can go into more detail, but it gives a hierarchy of hardscape throughout the site, but it also just shows how little of an impact the physical improvements have on the overall site. Next slide. Our inspiration imagery at the top third of this slide is our hardscape imagery. We're really just trying to lean on natural materials like stone and wood that'll just age with the project and blend in with the landscape, just like the architecture would. And on the left, up at the top, is what we're thinking for the amphitheater, just a small little intimate gathering area. And if you remember from the site plan, it's just tucked into that hillside. The bottom 2/3 is our planting imagery. We're really just trying to keep this rustic and natural feeling throughout the entire site. Grasses, native trees, all of that kind of stuff. Next slide. Our lighting plan, happy to go into more detail, but everything is low and night sky compliant. It's all meant for safety and circulation. Next slide. Our tree plan, there's a lot of little small detail here with the trees called out individually and that we can dive into more. Next slide. Our hydrozone plan, I think maybe Beth does a good job of showing how we're grouping the plantings with the associated buildings that are also linked together programmatically with the camp. Next slide. At the top, this is our full tree palette. At the very top, the 4 trees are our native trees that we're introducing throughout the site. The second row is our accent and canopy trees. The bottom half of the sheet is our fully native planting that we'll have along the entire creek edge in that ESHA buffer and also bleeding past it just to really have a strong nature exploration area along the entire camp. Next slide. And then this is our last slide. At the top is our grass for that central quad, since it's going to get the majority of the outdoor activity. The middle of the page is the plant palette for what's going to be along the camp structures. And then at the bottom of the page for what's going to be along the cabins. And then I'll turn it back over to Ken for the next few slides.
We're available for questions. And really appreciate it. I mean, everything about the project is really intended to be a blank slate for 10 to 13-year-olds to run around. Thank you.
We'll be more brief in the future, but we wanted to give you the full tour of this to start off with, and hopefully future meetings will have this as a background for it. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you for your presentation. And now I'll open it up for questions from the board. Any questions?
Where to start? Maybe more comments later.
Okay.
I have a few questions.
Yeah.
Thanks. I don't know if the planner's on the call or on Zoom.
I am here.
Thank you. This may be a question for you, but just wanted to get a sense of what findings we're looking to make today, and then if there's precedent for this type of program for an agricultural. I know there is, but what findings we would need to make for that, for I guess it's a use of this nature on an agricultural site.
Well, that's not really for us to decide. That's if they're going to go to the Planning Commission and to the Board of
You
Supervisors.
mentioned that. Okay.
So we're really looking at the design, the aesthetics, compatibility.
And I'll just add that this is under, it's called rural recreation, which is an allowed use in the Ag 2 zone. There are some specific findings we have to make regarding agricultural compatibility for rural recreation, but correct that this will be going to the Planning Commission and the Board of Supervisors who will be making those findings. You'll just have to make your standard BAR findings, which I can provide at a later hearing when you'll have to make those findings.
Okay, thank you. It's a compatibility question.
We would just really be giving comments and not making findings till after it's come back from Planning Commission. Yeah.
Thank you.
I have 2 questions. Yeah, one is regarding hardscape. We can go to the hardscape picture. Do we have yeah. Yeah, there you go, something like that.
Go ahead.
Is that a vehicular road or not? I thought you said that the vehicles are kept to the top of the site.
Could you go 2 more slides back? One more. That one.
So yeah, what is how much do the vehicles get into the site? Yeah, that's what I would like to see.
Sure. So at the main entrance, going down to the large drop-off circle area, that's the primary vehicular entrance. The darker gray paving at the top right is staff parking. And then leading along the eastern edge, the gray parking continues down to the lighter paving.
Mhm.
And then over to the that circle area with a little bit darker paving, that's all vehicular as well. And then down to the last part turnaround at the bottom with that.
Yes.
And Alex, just to add to that, so basically mostly vehicles will stop at the dining hall for their service drop-offs. That's like really the last place any vehicle is going to go. The rest would be an occasional golf cart, as Ken mentioned, to drop off luggage, and really for fire.
For fire.
Get
I
back.
was wondering about that, if there would be fire.
Yep.
So it has to be a compacted base or some kind of a surface for the
Correct. So it'll take a fire truck. Yep.
20 feet or something.
I think it's 24, yeah.
24 feet. Okay. And second question, you mentioned about the prefab units, right? How do you deal with the roof overhangs? That seems to be always the weak spot on that. Like, do you add them later? I noticed in the drawings you do have some long overhangs. So what's the plan?
Yeah, we've done, you're spot on with that. We've done it a lot with these modular constructions, that those long overhangs typically, like, they ship them on top and then they'll just have little spot footings outside. So that'll be kind of site erected or site built.
Okay.
Those things are so small, they happen quickly.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay. I have a few questions. Is the creek full-time creek or seasonal, and what's it like?
It's running right now.
It runs
and I
pretty
think it
much.
probably runs most of the year. Yeah. Mhm.
And this is more of a complicated question, but have you, in your meetings with the fire department, looked at a third exit or an exit out toward Cathedral Oaks in the event of a real
Yeah,
disaster?
we've talked with fire about it. They're satisfied, I will say, with our plan
With the
in
two.
terms of
Yeah,
egress.
both
Yeah, they
of
don't
them.
even need the second one, they said. And if sure, they'd love it if we had it, but they're happy with just the one that we have. We did explore potentially bringing an access off of Cathedral Oaks. As you saw, that's a pretty steep slope,
Yeah,
and
it's a big
there
drop.
are some native species. It's not just poison oak. There's sage scrub, honeysuckle, other kinds of things. And to make that grade work, it was going to be
It would be a
very
lot of hard
challenging.
work.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just feels like there might be an occasion when you'd wish you could get out that way.
I mean, maybe Ken wants to say something, but we really did want it. We did not just dismiss that right away. That was something we really tried to investigate.
Yeah. Another question is there going to be there's the orchard and the small orchard part of the camp, but is there going to be a garden for growing vegetables or anything like that part of it?
It's not in the plans right now. We're just keeping the ag part to the relocated fruit trees.
Okay.
How many total?
I would just add to that answer, though, and I'm sure Angela is thinking this as well. On the property is our fruit trees and other things, and so I think this sort of agricultural connection is a big part on the owner's minds, and as well, like they could walk half a block away in groups and get some fruit from, we on our site meeting we had mulberries and peaches and citrus and so
Yeah,
forth.
it seems
So
like
it's
a
more of an
natural connection to have.
ag type garden.
Yeah.
How many buildings are there total? It looks like 15 or 16 or something like that. And then is that going to be phased, or are they all just going to be put in place at the same time?
The only phasing foreseen right now is half of the cabins. So phase one would be the first 4 of those cabins, and again, in a CUP you just have to ask for everything. But
yeah,
generally speaking, everything that we're seeing here, I mean, we need dining, we need the indoor activity area. So nothing's extra And it's all pretty low key uses. So we pretty much need most of it other than that second half.
I think what I'm kind of leading to in my own mind is like, is the plan to like expand the camp in 10 years if this is I mean, sure, it's gonna be a raging success.
So
But-
phase two is our intent to add those additional up to 80 campers, with those 4 additional buildings. That's how we envision that if it is successful, we would expand to that.
But the expansion is all contained within that footprint. And then
To your question, absolutely. And it's really interesting because the personal connection to the site is not intending to overwhelm it. In this much site, we're really, there's a lot of just breathing room in there. And that's it. That's the intention.
and then the remainder of the 100+ acres or whatever, that's still operating as farm. And
Yeah, so there's, as you saw in some of the images, there's additional orchard all the way into the coastal zone. They're basically another 12 or 15 acres. And then on the other side of the creek, there is a couple of areas that are in production right now. Right now it's being donated. They're not commercially selling it.
Okay. I think that does it for questions. Now we're going to open it up to public comment. And we've received a number of letters, and we could put those up. I guess we could kind of scroll through them. And I have 3 speaker slips, and each person will have 3 minutes to speak and come up to the microphone. So and I'll just say that I know from reading the letters, there's lots of concerns with land use. And that's not really our purview. We are a design, architecture, and landscape board. So those kind of land use concerns are best expressed at the Planning Commission and the Board of Supervisors, because it's really not our purview to determine that, how exactly this meets the criteria for an agricultural property. So with that said, our first speaker, Russ Underwood. And you'll have 3 minutes.
You hear me? Okay, yeah, just real quick. So I know you talked about the neighborhood above on Cathedral Oaks, but the real main concern is the neighborhood that's like right across from the main entrance. I don't know if you have a picture of that, but
You go back.
yeah, so we live down here in that small, quiet community. And the road where the main entrance is, it's got a fair amount of traffic on it. There's a lot of, small farms back there, a lot of workers come and go. Sometimes they're
Yeah, that's
speeding at some, there's a lot of traffic. There's no stop signs. They're going quite fast. And so, that's the concern really for me is my property is right up where the main entrance is. And you spoke briefly about, I really believe like an entrance from Cathedral Oaks is a better option. I know there's, there's some complications with that, but just the amount of traffic that might be coming in, especially for this like seasonal summer camp type thing, and it's going to be year round, it sounds like too. So, that is just, yeah, I'm just kind of wondering, how that's gonna, what are the, how did you navigate that? Yeah, and so it's just the entrance. I'm all for youth development, not against it at all, but just the amount. It's a very quiet neighborhood. I know there's other neighbors here, but just the amount of just the noise and the traffic and all that is just something that I don't know if you need to talk about the neighborhood up above, but I think really more main concern is the neighborhood down below. So I guess that's my concern mostly. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next we have Lisa Dominguez.
Hello, thank you for letting me speak here today. I'm Lisa Dominguez. I'm a 26-year resident of Rio Vista Drive, which is directly parallel to Winchester Canyon Road. So my backyard directly faces the proposed entry and exit areas for the camp. Now, I want to be clear, I'm not here to protest a project that is benefiting youth. Matter of fact, our neighborhood has always been very safe and very welcoming for children. And we're really concerned about preserving the serenity and the character of the neighborhood. Right now, when large like farming trucks and buses go up and down on that road, it actually gets very, very narrow once it reaches the bottom of the hill where the entrance to the farm is. That also that one road is the only access point in and out for the 225 houses for the San Miguel housing tract. So you go to the right and you've got the suburban neighborhood, you go to the left and you've got the farm. So in an emergency, like that's the only way in and out. When we had the Gap fire, we were all evacuated. That road was completely blocked off, all for emergency vehicles going all the way up to the farms to defend the perimeter of the fire. So we're concerned, of course, about, additional access, noise, traffic. It's really something to consider. And, when we're looking at the scale of the plan, maybe we consider that as well. Like maybe there's a smaller scale. Maybe we keep it at the 4 buildings and not the 8 buildings for the campers. I don't know. But the noise is a consideration as well. It was sort of briefly touched on that there was going to be an amphitheater included in the plans, an open air amphitheater with amplified noise or amplified sound, probably very nice sound sometimes, but amplified sound permitted from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. daily for events, for camps. That is a disruption. It's disruption to the residents there and potentially to the wildlife there as well. So we would like those things considered. I know a lot of it is probably outside the purview of this group here, but we wanted to make our concerns known. So thank you.
Right. Thank you. Okay, next is Michael Scott.
Hello, thank you for letting me speak. I'll touch on the points made before me. San Miguel Housing Tract shares the flat area. The hills and the canyon around it. So any noise made in there is going to hit the canyon walls, go across. That amphitheater we're going to hear it night and day. I also have strong concerns about the rentals when it's not in season. They have a plan to have bust in their people and keep the traffic down, but the people renting it, the nonprofits and others, they're going to just probably have their kids dropped off. They'll be using our parking and crowding the parking and causing a clogged situation. There's only one road and it goes downhill and it does narrow right before the farm, the road itself. Also with the events they're planning, I don't know if it's the purview of this commission, but the events they're planning over 400 people at a time every 3 months would cause a significant traffic problems as well. It's a very quiet neighborhood. I'm concerned about noise and light pollution, just disrupting the entire balance of the neighborhood. A lot of nocturnal creatures. At night, you'll hear coyotes, owls, what have you. All of it being disturbed, just changing the entire integrity of the neighborhood. That is my concern. That's much. I would encourage all of you to take a drive through it and have a look at it and see what it looks like.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. That's all the speaker slips that we have.
We do have some people online.
Okay.
If anybody would like to make a public comment in our online chat, please raise your hand. Okay, looks like we have nobody online.
Do you want to pull up the letters? Just kind of scroll through them. There's a variety of letters. There's ones with concerns, there's ones with big support. It's a mixture. I can't read it anyway. So this is, okay, yeah, this is objection, yeah. Okay, go to the next one. Hidden trails. Like that's in support. Okay, next. This is an objection. Noise, traffic, fire, land use. Yeah, these are issues that are really going to be tackled at the Planning Commission and Board of Supervisors. Yeah. Okay. And there's some letters of support regarding the concept of camp. Okay. Okay, keep going. There's support. 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 Okay. Support. Okay. I think that's about it. Okay, so now let's move.
Sorry, Chair Foster, can I have like 1 minute just to, I might help to
Yeah.
respond to some of the
Sure,
comments.
sure.
I think there is a misconception about the amphitheater, that it's like a concert venue, something like that. That's not the intention. It's a gathering area. It's not speakers and that kind of thing set up. And when I write a project description, I have to write down everything that might happen. That's what we have to do, right? And then the county provides conditions. And so, I had to write down that we might have amplified noise between 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. That's not the intention. It's supposed to be a light use, only occasionally used right now during the camp. But I can't say exactly when it's going to be. So I just want to make that clear for folks. And then I think one of the neighbors did mention, but in terms of traffic, it's a come and stay camp. So there's not that much traffic from the kids. There'll be a couple of day counselors. But for the most part, it's, come and stay. So there'll be some traffic on the first and last day, but not during the rest. I think that's it. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. So now let's do comments from the board. Alex?
Yeah. Can we go to the site plan? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want it with the buildings on it?
Yeah, if you can.
That one?
What's a good one? What page? What would be a good page to see? Yeah. I look at the drawings online and I saw the presentation and I'm really have no issues whatsoever with the aesthetics of the agricultural building type of buildings that you're proposing. I had that comment about eaves, like usually where this prefab projects fail is on the eaves. So that's the important thing we'll be looking at as the project develops. Regarding the project itself, I kind of I'm a little bit surprised at the hard geometry of the forms, especially the circle and those curvatures. It just seems like it would be, I understand that you spend a lot of time, and I'm sure you have a lot of options, but if there is a way to soften the hard geometry, it looks like, it doesn't look like an agricultural pastoral setting, just the geometry of the roads, the roads and it is a little bit harsh if you could be kind of softened and, maybe the circle is not exactly a circle and the oval is not the perfect oval, but is off because it's just the way nature is. Nature is not like that. Those are my two comments.
Kier?
Well, I want to start by saying that I think that I quite like the design of the buildings, and I think you guys did a really nice job of blending in the landscape. You know, the architectural buildings as taken as, looking at them individually, they're very attractive, and I think they work with the site really well. It's a very rural type design, which I think works with the materials being very subdued, and same with the landscape, using gravels wherever possible, and natural materials. So I think that that's all very commendable. So my concern is less with the aesthetics. I think, yeah, that's all really on the right track. But, part of the board, I think, is tasked with looking at compatibility as well. So I do share some concerns that are shared with your neighbors, just about compatibility of the scale of the project. I realize this is a great camp, and you guys want to have many amenities and gathering areas, and those all, of course, come with buildings that need to be servicing those specific uses. So I think, that definitely changes the experience of the agricultural site. I think kind of picking up on board member Pujo's comments about the circles and things, the more structured approach to the landscape. I think it's a very cohesive campus, but I think that may be part of the reason it looks, and I think you guys have used the word campus. It's kind of how we're describing this project in a way. But in this context, maybe there's a way that we could make the improvements feel a little bit more incidental to a like an agricultural type site. I don't think it would take that much work. I think it's really just the subtle changes that make it feel a little bit less planned in a way. I know we're planners and designers and master planners, but I think that agricultural aspect of the site could be studied a little bit more to see how you can blend that. So I really appreciate how you guys have brought the orchard into the campus and making that part of the program, which I think is great. I won't really talk about precedent. I think this is definitely setting a precedent for this neighborhood and for other sites like this, but I think we just have to be mindful with our comments about what would set this project apart for future projects coming down the pipeline. I know this is planned as a great camp with a great vision, but we don't really have the ability to see what happens with the camp later on if it becomes more like a public El Cap Canyon or something like that. You guys have all the amenities there, so there's really no purview of that after this is approved. And then the last comment would just be, I don't think I saw on the slides, it's a great presentation, so appreciate all of that, but looking at exactly what the neighborhood's going to be viewing, you have a lot of great shots kind of from the campus out. But I think it would be great to have a little bit more studies about what's the neighborhood looking out from the roads, what's even Highway 101 seeing. I don't know if it even sees this site. You're shaking your head, so that I'm assuming it's.
Yeah, that we did look at doing view studies, but you really can't see it from, like Ken said, almost anywhere. There are a couple of places you do. So I encourage you, like the neighbor said, go ahead and drive out there, but it's not really a visible site.
Thank you. Yeah, I would think a site visit would be definitely, it's going through a lot of different agencies, so. But I think a site visit would be great. So yeah, just providing studies, renderings, what's happening with the screening. Like this kind of camp, you want it to feel really rural and like you're on your own and you guys could do whatever you want essentially and play music till late and not have to worry about neighbors. But I think it's also about the feeling of that. So just encourage you guys to do more studies there on top of all the other drawings that you guys have put together. But thank you, very nice presentation.
Okay, Jerry?
I agree. It's a beautiful presentation. So much information. You guys have worked on this it's evident for a very long time. And I think that shows in everything we're looking at. I think the concerns are still there though, right? So then for me, I think what Alex said about taking kind of the hard geometric lines that we're seeing, kind of breaking those down, is something that I would also be interested in seeing how that happens. Listening to the people in the audience, I would say, how does the entry get addressed? I know we don't really have much to say about the road accessing it, but the entry to the site itself, how do we manage that? How do you manage that better in a way that is maybe more compatible with the neighborhood? I don't know. But that is something to think through. The amphitheater, can the architecture or the design of the amphitheater do anything to shield sound a little bit better, just to hear those concerns? And maybe it's the location of the amphitheater. It seems to be set closest to that neighborhood on the right, and speakers in the amphitheater are facing that neighborhood. I know it's an 80-foot drop or whatever, but sound does travel. So that's just one of those little concerns that I could see. Can we go to the sheets with the architecture, showing the main building and then the larger buildings and then the smaller buildings eventually? Material palette. I love the material palette. I think it's durable. It's natural. Everything about the material palette is great. It's harmonious with the site. I think the only thing it's not really harmonious with is the neighborhoods across the way. But that's not. I think there's enough distance there. It's fine. So these buildings just give off a very strong agricultural feel, kind of a contemporary agricultural feel, and I think they're great. I like it. I like the material choices. I like the massing of them. I think they're reflective of the history of the farm. I think that's fine. But then can we go to the housing as well? But then when you get into these buildings, it feels like a different architecture, right? So we go from this gable roof architecture down to a flat pitched roof architecture. So for me, I don't have any problem with either of the styles. I like both styles. Just feels a little bit like you're doing two different styles. So, and then I think, the porches, the overhangs, I think those are all wonderful settings for 101. How the architecture meets the individual user is that those are wonderful. And I agree with that. Now, with that, I guess I'm not a landscape architect, so I don't know. Like how long would it take for the landscape to really come to full fruition in this? I know you've got a lot of plantings and things like that. Is this like a 5-year, to where it really starts fleshing in, or is it?
It's probably going to vary from the understory to the trees. The trees are going to take quite a bit longer, obviously, to really fill out, where it's like double that time frame. But the understory would definitely get there in that time frame.
Yeah. Okay. Depends on the size of the trees, yeah, and what size you put in, all that. So, and then accessing the creek. I didn't see much about pathways and trails and things like that beyond just the really planned events. Are there other little pathways that bring people down into the site and things like that?
There's mulch paths that go through that more native area along the creek.
Yeah. Okay.
That kind of parallel the creek, but not take you down into it.
Yeah. Okay. So I think in general, I'm very much in favor of this. I think I like it, but I think the questions need to be answered. And as you come back, for more review, try and address some of those questions.
Thanks. Robert?
Could you go to the site plan, Jonathan, that shows? So my question is, could you discuss if you explored making like a vehicular connection to Cathedral Oaks or to Cali Real, which I guess would be south there? I mean, seems like a big concern of the neighbors is the access to the site. And I was just wondering, like, what is the feasibility of accessing it from a different?
So we did investigate that with our civil engineer and our biologist. I think mentioned it. There's quite a bit of actually native landscaping on that slope. Sage scrub, I think coyote scrub, honeysuckle, oak tree. So significant environmental challenges there and a slope as well.
What about going through the orchard to the south, you know, along the edge of the orchard or something? Almost like a farm road as an emergency.
Yeah, yeah.
Is it feasible to connect down there closer to where the freeway is? I'm sure you guys thought there were these things, so I just thought maybe you could explain the mindset of it.
Yeah, there's a oak tree barrier right there and also a topographic challenges in terms of getting through to Cathedral Oaks and that side. You know, we're trying to minimize our impacts on ESHA completely. In fact, we're avoiding it almost entirely. The only part where we're touching is we might have to slightly widen the driveway or the very top where there's willow trees. But other than that, we're avoiding impacts to environmental habitat. So that was one of our main goals.
Have you guys studied it though? I mean, is there something that you guys have done, walked it and studied it?
We mostly studied Cathedral Oaks because that would make the most sense for us. And so, yeah, we looked at the slopes. We mocked up. I mean, I think Ken, what would a road look like and what would the slopes be? And you're talking about several hundred feet of road. And then I don't know that we can avoid ESHA. So yes, we did look at it for sure. And then, like I said, we met with fire department numerous times and with our own consultant about access. And so we're pretty comfortable. And in the event of a fire, it's not that what happens is, we set up agreements with bus companies and when a fire event occurs, they call the bus company. In the meantime, we'll have a structure like the dining hall set up as a shelter in place location. So while people are evacuating, the buses are coming in. And then once they're there, load the kids on and leave. So we're definitely thinking about that.
If you had to, could the entry be off Cathedral Oaks? You're gonna go through environmentally sensitive area, but would you be able to mitigate it, and would it be supportable at all, or is it just a complete no-go for the project?
I think we'd be looking at a class 1 impact. So
Makes it a lot more complicated to do your project.
I mean, I think from a CEQA perspective, you would be adding, it's in terms of a class 1 impact that can't be mitigated below level of significance. So that's not something that we want to propose. And I guess the other part is that we'd be looking at a very long road to get down there too, to make the slopes work.
I was just curious kind of on where all the thinking behind it all. I could understand the concern from the neighbors with the two entry points there. It's obviously the least impact on your site to provide the entry points there. Just based off topography and what you've shown by the constraints with what's existing around all the edges. A comment I would have, and I think it was touched on by some of the other board members, would be to bring more information on what these entry points look like. There's gates, landscaping, signage, lighting, any of that kind of thing, because I think that affects the neighborhood. Another thing I read was a concern that there were going to be campers walking around in the neighborhood. I assume that's not the case, but maybe you could kind of explain whether or not there's any, pedestrian camper connection points outside of the property. I assume it wants to stay contained, correct?
Correct. There's no intention for people to be. They'll be monitored. There will be a full program while they're there. We've got, as I mentioned, the ratio of campers to counselors is 4-to-1. So there's a lot of oversight. No intention to leave the property. It's we don't want them there, and it's a security risk, honestly, for us. So no, it wouldn't be any intention for that.
Okay. I'll comment that I think that the site planning is very strong with the way that you've laid out the vehicular circulation kind of there against the edge of where the slope comes up. I think the site planning for the amphitheater makes a lot of sense to kind of hunker it into that slope. And with the way that it's oriented, it's probably going to send sound away from the slope out into the area of the camp. So that would be my expectation of it. I think that you could study ways of using landscaping and any other like physical features to try to buffer any sound, but the orientation of how you have the vehicular circulation and then the structures, I think works very nicely. And then I like the way that you brought in this kind of like nature trail along the creek. I think the way that it all lines up on the site makes a lot of sense. As far as the comment about like the site having like perfectly oval shapes and circles and whatnot, I kind of think that the structure of those elements work nicely to like cohesively bring it together. And then as you blend away from that towards the creek, you kind of get the more natural elements, that, bring in your native path and all that. So I will comment that I like the shapes and the orientation of the planning, and I think it's successful. And um, and the architecture of the buildings, it is appropriate for this site, and the materials, I think it's all very well put together. So my only real concerns, or not concerns, but questions that respond to the neighbors' concerns, is the connections into the site and if there are any other ways of like alleviating their potential impacts of traffic and whatnot. So.
Okay, yeah, I have a couple of comments. I've been thinking a lot about what's been expressed about the perfect geometry of the open areas versus randomizing it a little more. And in residential design, I really like organizing it and having it be geometrically complete. But here, maybe you could really explore blurring those edges and bringing it back more to the natural setting that's right adjacent of that riparian area and the history of the ag. I think that's a really interesting comment. I think that the more trees, the better. I think the trees are going to help mask the activity from the neighborhood and buffer the sound as well. And there's other examples of, schools in residential neighborhoods around Santa Barbara, and it's often the trees that tend to just block it to where people lose their sense of, oh, I'm looking into this big activity area. It goes away. So I think the more trees, and maybe thinking about the trees in relation to the entry and the vehicular areas, and they give shade and help the whole setting. So the more the better for that. I also was struck by kind of the difference between the bigger buildings being kind of really interesting agricultural contemporary, and then the cabins being with the flat roofs. I'm not sure that it totally gets, I mean, not that you have to be a throwback to the traditional camp where you would have had almost like the little log cabin with the little A-frame roof. But there's something about that might tie it all together. And make it more, just not feel too modular. Don't want it to feel modular. You want it to feel like you're going to this camp in the woods that has this kind of magical quality to it on all the buildings. The porches are fantastic because that's where people are going to be when they're not off at gatherings. They're going to be, sitting outside and looking for that shade again. So those are great. And the bigger, the better on those. I think we will want to do a site visit, and it's really interesting, the conflict between wanting to preserve all of the surrounding topography and the feeling that there's kind of a dead end at the end for an escape. That if there was a real conflagration and there's a lot of people at the southern end, and usually fires are coming from the mountains, they're coming from the northeast, they're coming from above, that you have to head toward it. instead of being able to get away and go to the south. I mean, even, I don't know, could there be like a farm road that's just only for emergencies that goes down to Calle Real that, what's that?
Pedestrian trail.
Well, but you can drive on. It just feels like it's, everybody's got to go back. And that's really where the fire is going to be coming from usually. They're going to be having to head toward it. So, but I know there's going to be plenty of eyes looking at that. But that's just a sense about this. So I think we've given you a lot of comments, and we should have a site visit. Should that be before Planning Commission or just at some time in the?
The question is whether we're going to see it again before Planning Commission or not. That's what the board to decide, I guess.
That we need to decide.
Yeah.
I mean, do you want to come back another time before Planning Commission?
Apologies.
This is- Sorry, if I could just step in real quick. This will also, just to remind the commission, this will go to the Planning Commission, the Board of Supervisors, and it will also go to the California Coastal Commission because there's a GPA rezone associated with it in the coastal
Right.
zone.
Right.
So I would recommend having this project return for further conceptual with a site visit. And to add to that, we can have some of the commissioners and supervisors attend that site visit at that same time as well to get some preliminary view of the site.
Okay, that sounds like a good idea. So come back for further conceptual and we'll schedule a site visit.
That sounds great. Thank you very much for all your comments. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And thank you neighbors for coming too.
Thank you all again. Much appreciation. And we do take your comments and their courteous assembly really seriously. Thanks.
All right, moving on to item 3. All right, item 3, the Armstrong new single-family dwelling and garage, request of Lauren Ballantyne, agent for the owner, Armstrong Family Bypass Trust. Here for conceptual review of a new 3,464 square foot residence, attached 2-car garage and attached 799 square foot ADU. The following structures exist on the parcel. It's vacant. The proposed project will require 60 cubic yards of cut and equal fill. It's a 2.04 acre parcel located at 1001 La Senda Road in the Santa Barbara Community Plan area. You can go ahead and state your name and give us your presentation.
Hi, good morning. I'm Lauren Ballantyne. I'm project architect for Sherry and Associates Architects. And as was stated, I'll be presenting our proposal for a new 2-story, 3,464 square foot single family residence with an attached 2-car garage and a detached ADU that's 799 square feet. This project's located at 1001 La Senda Road. Can we actually open the photo pages first? This property is vacant, as was mentioned. It's a 2-acre parcel that's located at the end of a cul-de-sac. It's in the Hidden Valley neighborhood, which is primarily characterized with 1- and 2-story residences, mixed architectural styles. It's not a very high density neighborhood. And the property, as you can see, sits atop the hillside and benefits from some partial ocean views to the south. This is looking south at the property right now. And if we can go to the next page. We're looking east at there's a driveway easement, which I'll discuss when we review the site plan. That's looking east at the easement and the surrounding neighborhood. Looking southeast, and then the next page. This is the south side of the parcel, which has very extreme slope. And then we're looking north at the mountain views from the south end of the parcel. We can head back to the plan set now. So we can go to the site plan. Thank you. That's 2 pages down. Oh, right there. This site has a lot of site constraints. There are steep slopes along the southwest portion. I think the average slope is approximately 30%, and that limits our buildable area to approximately 20,500 square feet. You can see there's a boundary line at the bottom, which actually, this is a partial site plan because the site extends much further south, but we have a development boundary line that's shown there at the bottom of the page. The lot has irregular geometry, and we have a driveway easement along the east property line that services multiple residences. Our goals for this project were really to minimize grading. We wanted to avoid excessive retaining and structural solutions and work with the natural topography. Also maximize sunlight and the partial ocean views. So with those reasons in mind, there was only one real place that we could site the property or the residence, and there it is. The driveway entrance will be off the cul-de-sac at La Senda because it will be difficult to make that turn into the property from the private driveway easement. And so with that in mind, the garage needed to be situated where it was to avoid visibility from the viewpoints of the road. This project is for a young family. They're intending this to be their long-term home. Their program was for a 5-bedroom, 3.5-bath residence with strong indoor-outdoor living. They wanted spaces that support gathering and hospitality. It's very important to them to be able to host friends and family. And they wanted a contemporary Mediterranean residence with Spanish revival influences. While we're on the site plan, the landscape plan is minimally developed as of now. The concept is for some screening hedges along the driveway on the east and also at the private yard space for the ADU. And there's a lot of natural vegetation on the slope that will remain. We'd like to plant a few olive trees, Mediterranean landscape, minimal flagstone or decomposed granite surfaces for the hardscape. And we aren't proposing the removal of any trees as of yet, although there is one near the corner of the ADU at the northwest that we'll have to consider. We can move on maybe to the elevations now, pages 8. We'll start with page 8. So we'll start with the south elevation, which is at the bottom of the page, and this is the primary living side of the home. And so we really wanted to maximize the sunlight and ocean views and strengthen that connection between the indoor-outdoor living. So the primary features are the large folding door system that connects the dining room to the patio. We have an outdoor kitchen with bar seating at the counter to the indoor kitchen and an exterior stair that invites access to the upper level deck where they will be able to get even better partial ocean views. We have some trellis elements that provide shade and solar control and also help reduce the scale of that facade. And then the north elevation, we wanted to have the stacked 2-story walls set back from the east drive as much as possible. And we also wanted the garage to not be as predominant. So it's has a lower plate height and is just reduced scale. This elevation is a bit of a more traditional Spanish colonial revival with that stacked two-story facade, a predominant entry with a Juliet balcony above. And the east and west elevations on the next page. They show again that we're keeping the two-story elements more central to the residents. That way we can minimize the visual impacts and overall massing, perceived massing from the driveway and the street, and maintain the compatibility with the surrounding neighborhood. The maximum height is about 24 feet 8 inches, which is well below the max allowed. And the materials that we're proposing are very traditional, smooth stucco, mission, two-piece clay tile roof. We have stained wood trellis and wrought iron railing elements. And that's pretty much the project in a nutshell.
Thank you. We'll move on to questions from the board. Anybody have, Alex?
Yeah, if you can go to the site plan first. Yeah, oh, whoops, there. Is that white area asphalt or vehicular? I see a turnaround. What exactly are you planning to do with that?
Yeah, so that's what we either will propose a flagstone drive surface or perhaps decomposed granite.
For all of it? Everything that is white, it would be
The white coming in through the driveway and where the turnaround is into the garage.
The motor court.
the whole mother court. Okay. Very good. Thank you.
I have questions about the neighbors. What's the building to the left of the,
That's a residence.
and what part of the residence is that that's so close to the side yard?
Yeah, I'm actually not sure. It's not super visible from the property just because of the existing trees that are along that line.
Okay.
You could see on the photos, you can't really see anything. But we positioned the ADU there. There's only one small window on that side, and it's just for bathroom ventilation. And all of the other windows, which we can look at the ADU elevations if you'd like, are positioned outwards. So that was the way that we wanted to keep that the most private for the adjacent neighbors.
And then across the little drive,
Mhm.
there's another residence right there?
Yeah, so the residence is, you can see the keynote, that's the outline of the residence.
Yeah.
The garage, I think, is that entry. And then there's some paving. They have parking along that driveway, and the outline of that polygon is really the paving, the drive surfaces.
And have you,
We can see that residence pretty well from the photo pages if we want to go.
have you shown them your plan?
I don't know
'Cause
if,
it has a big impact on
right,
them.
there was a neighbor that asked to look at the plans. We haven't received any comment from them. I think he's a friend of the family's and probably more out of curiosity. So we released them, but we haven't gone and knocked on doors and discussed this with a neighbor.
Because it looks like that property is used to looking across an empty field out toward the ocean. Right?
The ocean views are actually more southwest, so this won't be blocking anybody's ocean views.
So they look more this direction?
Yeah, that house, can we go back to the photo pages?
Mhm.
The second page, I think, shows pretty well. So that's the
Yeah.
residence in question, and their views
Are going out
going
that,
yeah, not towards the
toward this.
parcel, but away from it.
Okay, okay, good. And then what are the plate heights of the 2 floors?
We have 10 feet at the lower level, and I believe we landed on 9 for the upper. 8.6 for the upper.
Okay, thank you.
One question or a couple. You go to sheet 8. Thanks. Oh, sorry. There you go. What is that big window to the left of the entry, is that a stairway?
Yes.
Okay. And then patio. Okay, and then maybe to the site plan sheet. 2. 2. Okay, so there's a plaster wall right along the whole road there, 6 foot high.
Currently, that's what's proposed.
Are we allowed to do that? Like, I'm just, maybe it's a question of, are you allowed to put a 6 foot wall right on the road there? I'm wondering, but okay. That's a private driveway.
It's an easement that's actually on their parcel. You can see the parcel line is in the middle of the drive. Um, Currently, there's.
Okay.
Yeah.
The 6 foot wall is not actually on the property line, it's on the edge of the easement.
It's on the edge of the easement, correct? The property line is further over about
Yeah, okay.
6 or 8 feet.
And does it run all the way down to the corner there? Where are you gonna end that wall? Is
We
that where that tree is at?
probably when the slope starts towards the bottom, you can see when the topography where the slope really starts becoming more extreme. There's a lot of vegetation there. We won't really need the screening beyond that.
The property line goes, or the property is off this.
Yeah, if the property is, the site survey doesn't even show all of it, but it's really like a diamond shape that's double what we're seeing here, and the rest is just a hillside with a lot of vegetation.
Just one more question. It doesn't look like you guys have need a fire hamlet or anything. It's a short driveway, but is there a reason that you would need paving in front of the front doors that just planning wise, have you guys thought about that?
Yeah, we have a mud room, which we can see on the floor plan if that's helpful. That's where those little steps are. And again, this is a young family. They have kids. And so sometimes, you're just dropping off or picking up and running in and out and dropping off school equipment. So I thought it'd be nice to have an access point that you don't have to pull all the way into the garage to get to the house. So that's really what that's for. Friends coming and picking them up. They're going to just park there, guests coming in, going. Mhm.
But I think, weren't you asking about the front door?
Yeah,
The main front
well, I
door. It
realize you
looks
need-
like the driveway just goes right into the front door.
Right, you need the backup space obviously out of the garage and then a little, maybe like a little guest parking or something, but the mudroom's those stepping stones that go just to
Mhm.
the doors we're looking at.
Yeah, we could probably reduce some of the paving that kind of goes in the U on the east side and make that a little smaller, add more landscape there. That's something we can absolutely consider.
This is coastal high fire?
I don't believe it's coastal. Yeah, high fire.
Okay, does the ADU require a parking spot or does it?
It does not.
It does not, okay.
I know you mentioned big trees between the ADU and the existing house, but the neighboring house, but we don't have any type of hedge currently planned or.
I'm just planning for a wood dog ear fence there. We don't have like a lot of space behind for vegetation. I want to make sure that they maintain that access behind the house. There might be some on the other side of the fence on the neighboring parcel.
Do you show gates? Do you have any drawings or anything what those look like? Or is it?
Not in this plan set.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? Okay, we'll move on to public comment. There's no one in the audience other than Brian.
No.
Uh,
We have received no letters for this item and we have nobody online.
Okay, we'll close public comment and move on to comments from the board. Let's start with Val.
Well, I know this is a very constrained building pad. Can we go to the elevations? Go back, yeah, to this one. The house feels very tall. It feels taller than maybe it is. And I think part of it is because the garage is so short. And that even though that's a nice idea, they don't go together very well. So it seems to accentuate the strange angles that you're dealing with and the fact that you're having to kind of wrap that around. I think it would look better if there was more of a stepping between the main body of the house down to the garage rather than it just coming off as this low appendage. Yeah, no, it feels austere, the design, in a way that's not inviting, for being kind of crammed into that small building area. I'm not sure what to offer. The south elevation is much better because you've got the porches and decks and trellis and, you know, there's a lot happening there that's very pleasant and, you know, helps for the indoor, outdoor. But the entry facing side feels austere in a way that would fit better when you had a lot of space. You know, like a grand entrance with a lot of room, which you don't have. And then I wonder about the big window in the stairwell that it's, you know, what's it looking at? Is it looking right at that neighbor's kind of parking area? So good. Those
A few minutes to end, yeah.
yeah, those are comments. And I know you don't have landscape yet, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's it for me.
Okay, Alex?
Yeah, I agree with those comments. I think there are too many ideas put together into one project. The center element is one thing, like an Italianate shape, but you know, on the Spanish colonial revival. But then the garage is something else. Go back to the front page; it has a very nice rendering. Yeah, and blow that up a little bit. Yeah, that's a very nice image. It seems like a George Washington Smith type of thing. But the windows need to be organized and be a little bit more of the same family. It just seems like this rendering is different from the drawing, right? For one thing, I noticed that maybe it's my illusion, but it looks like the center element with the door seems to be a little bit wider here than in the other elevation. Seems to have more breathing room. Also, a little bit more space between that entrance element and the windows next to it, that they are kind of crouching into it, right? Like on the left, especially on the left. Then the big stairway window, okay, well, I guess I could live with that. But this is one thing. This is like one idea that kind of with a little bit of massaging would work. Then go back to the other elevations, please. Then you have two more things going. Yeah, well, the 3D, you can go to the 3D. That kind of shows it a lot. It just seems like that that garage doesn't belong to that house, or at least not attached to it. You can see it in the bottom. It's like a different thing altogether. And then the third element, which is interesting, is the one with the roof deck. I mean, the second story deck and flat roof and all that. That seems to be very, very appealing. So I see like three different ideas, but they are not together yet. And especially considering that you have a difficult site and everything has to be angled one way and the other, it makes for a very difficult design. So I'm not sure how to you can resolve that. Plus we need I'd like for the record, we need to provide more neighborhood information. meaning a good aerial that shows your site and all the neighbors around it, and some idea how you're going to deal with a sea of asphalt in the front, because it's just not really there. So there is quite a bit of work to be done. There are some good ideas. It just seems like it's not ready for prime time yet.
Okay. Jerry?
Yeah, I agree with Alex and Valerie. I think the elements are still kind of almost feel tacked onto place. Like you've got that central mass, which I agree. The nicest thing is just that front rendering where things seem to be a little more refined and resolved. Still a little tall. Things feel very tall in that. But then you go over to the garage, things, you're introducing some arches at the garage. The plate heights seem really low. It feels dwarfed by the house next to it. You kind of introduce that next arch to the left of that. It feels a little tacked on. Things don't feel integrated quite yet, right? And then when you go to the left mass, that feels a little tall. So it's almost like the parts get, you pinch the garage and it gets smaller, and then that stretches that little deck area up on the right, on the left. It feels tall there. So the proportions and the heights don't quite feel right to me. And then when you consider, like when you go to the site plan and you see the neighbor next door, that big window is looking right into their property. I'm sure there's a view out there. Not enough context for us to really see how it's impacting everything else. And on the backside, it feels like everything, here you have a little bit of variety, up and down variety, but on the backside, everything feels horizontal again. So I agree with both the other architects.
Robert?
Yeah, I'll say that I think the back of the house looks better than the front. I like that stairway that you have coming up to the kind of the elevated deck space and the trellis elements, and wonder maybe if there was some way to introduce some kind of trellis element in the front of the house, it would somehow kind of break up that big facade. But this is a landscape architect giving architecture advice, so take it with a grain of salt. Maybe we go to the site plan. So I would recommend studying a way to potentially soften or do something with the proposed wall along the driveway, because I could just see that as being kind of imposing on the neighbor, whether it's with a vine or maybe there's a combination of a hedge with the wall or something to be a little softer in that direction. As with the gate, I'm a little concerned about the accessibility of getting the keypad and all the required elements for access in front of that gate. So I just make sure all that works with the requirements for having that there. Usually they have minimum space requirements to stack a vehicle and whatnot. The ADU seems to kind of pinch the access in the driveway, and I'm not sure if it just kind of looks that way with the site plan, but I would study kind of when you're looking in that, when you open up the gate and you look through there, is it going to look like the ADU is kind of sticking out into where the vehicle wants to maneuver? So I don't know that, well, maybe a solution would be to slightly move the ADU towards the house or to study just kind of the dimensions of it. The driveway is obviously like a main part of the landscape in the front of the house. So it's going to be important how it's treated. Maybe there's some way to bring some hierarchy to the paving to kind of break it up where it doesn't just read like one big massive flagstone. On the back side of the house, you obviously have this like nice view looking towards the ocean, which is like the selling point of this property. And so I think the way that you've introduced the outdoor living spaces and the upper deck is successful. And then there to the east, you kind of got this nice, like kind of flat, usable space and nothing's happened there. I could see that being like a great place to do some kind of landscape development that would serve the needs of the owners. But obviously the landscape plan has to kind of come together. So I look forward to seeing that as part of it.
Here.
I generally agree with those architectural comments. Maybe start there. Can we just go to sheet 8 real quick? Thanks, Jonathan. Yeah, for me, it was just the organization of the windows. It looks like some are really tight. I agree. It kind of has that George Washington Smith look, and so there's some like austereness to it, which I think is cool with plaster. And I could see, you know, some type of plant material along the plaster walls to help accentuate that. But like to the left there, it looks like there's windows really tight together and doesn't look like it has enough meat for some plaster to make this feel like a more country type house. And I think along the lines with the garage as well, they're kind of introducing the hip roofs, and then you have kind of like the normal gable roofs. Maybe there's a way that those could be unified. But then overall, landscape plans are forthcoming. So I think we'll kind of reserve comments for then. But I agree that the 6-foot plaster wall right along the driveway is pretty harsh to drive along. It's really uncomfortable to drive along that for neighbors. You feel like you're always going to bump into it or scuff it up. So I agree with trying to soften that somehow. Maybe it's as simple as putting a ficus vine along that whole thing and making it look like a hedge at some point. And then maybe the site plan, Jonathan, really quick for the driveway. Yeah, I think once you guys look at the landscape more, there might be an opportunity to introduce more landscape in front of the house, just to create a nice procession and really plant that out to make it feel like you're not looking right into the driveway from the front door. But like the introduction and maybe a little fountain element. Sympathetic, it's a tight spot. I do think of story poles. I don't think your neighbors know what they're in for really across the street. So I think story poles would be, I don't know, at least for me, I think that would be really important for them to see what they're looking at. And same for the neighbor on the left there, but I feel like you're not too far off. So I think it's an overall nice project and yeah, support it.
Sounds good. I will just add that I think with really careful circulation study of the motor court area, you might be able to give some undulation to that wall. You might be able to step certain sections back so that it doesn't feel like so austere along the lane. And then just general, like putting the hardscape just where you need it. So just studying really how the family will use it so that you can reclaim any green space. This is an informal, just not a comment for the record necessarily, but my gut feeling on your garage is that a parapet would probably solve a lot of it to balance it. And because I think right now it's feeling artificially short and the weight of the roof is adding to it. But again, I'm a landscape architect, so. Let's see, site planning. I think I'd like to see what the plans for, what is that, southeast, what that section, how it'll integrate into the site. And then either story poles or some perspectives on a way to understand how the whole compound comes together, because I think we're putting so much comment weight on the garage area, but it's pretty nestled into the site. And so for us to be able to understand really what's perceived from the public views, I think, because that's what at the end of the day, what we're looking for is the neighborhood compatibility and views. So with that, this is here for conceptual. Does the board feel like it should continue for further conceptual with some further site planning and those comments?
Yeah, and is it easy for us to drive by it? It seemed like a few poles would be really helpful.
Just maybe the main ridge line so we can understand.
Yeah.
Do we want them to come back with however they plan to revise it and then do a story poles just in case there's any roof line changes?
Okay. I think this plan is going to be revised eventually. It seems like there are a lot of things not working, good ideas, but not there yet. So maybe before we put story poles might be better.
Okay. So let's see how you come back so that you don't have to do story poles more than once. All right.
Could we just go back to the rendered elevations real quick? Yeah. Oh, That the one in the lower right, that's, I mean, you don't quite see, but when you first enter the property, you're sort of looking at that end. And that's not a strong feature.
That's on the west side.
That's the other side.
Well, but when you're driving into the driveway to get to the front entry, you're gonna obliquely be looking at that from the other
This
direction.
neighbor is an adjacent parcel and there's just trees. So you won't ever see this from anywhere.
No, I understand that, but what I'm saying is when the owners of the property drive in, they are gonna be looking at the other side of this at an angle. And it's not a good elevation.
It's this lower.
Yeah,
The lower,
from the other side. There, you're coming in the driveway and that the angle of the garage is wrapping around and that end of the two-story is gonna be right.
We go back to the site plan for a second.
yeah, I think the site plan will help. So that, yeah, that corner that you're looking at is actually on the far left. That's the viewpoint and you don't ever see that.
I don't agree. I think you will see it.
Where would we see it from then?
As you drive in and you come into the motor court and you come toward the garage, you're gonna be looking at that corner. Yeah,
Yes, that gable end will be very visible.
right, that gable end.
You won't see it from the same perspective, but you'll see that gable
Right.
end.
It's not like you're out floating over the canyon like the rendering, but it's that end of the building that you're gonna see as you come into the property. So anyway, it's just another comment about the relationship between the garage roof and those two little windows high on that wall, that it's an important elevation.
Yeah, I think we could do maybe a view study from Lasunda Road because we have that house and the ADU and vegetation. And I don't think there's ever a situation in which you're going to be seeing that. But we can provide that when we come back.
Okay.
Yeah, well, it's part of the same discussion about how you make the garage look more intact with the house. Okay.
Thank you. I told you I'd give you a minute at the end. Do you have any other?
No, the only other was in reference to the large stair window. We do want some trees outside of it, so that will help shield any viewpoints into the neighbors. And then up above it, you'll just see the mountain views. There's really lovely mountain views out that side. And it will provide a lot of light into the living room because there's no windows on that side of the house for the living space because the stairwell blocks that. So it's kind of a necessary component for the interiors. And that was my only other comment.
Sounds good. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to item 4, the Wen addition request of Argishi Avestian, agent for the owner David Wen, here for preliminary and final review of a demolition of an unpermitted covered patio on the first floor. I should check if the applicant's here for this. Online, okay.
Yes, hello.
Hello. Demolition and replacement of an existing 2-car garage, construction of a 310 square foot living room and a bathroom addition, 74 square foot addition to the garage, 122 square foot addition to the master bedroom, and new 747 square foot ADU second floor addition, including a 243 square foot second floor balcony. Property will require less than 50 cubic yards cut and fill. 1 orange tree and 1 deciduous fruit tree are proposed for removal. The following structures exist on the parcel: 1,500 square foot residence, and it's on a 0.14 acre parcel located at 641 San Felipe Drive in the Eastern Goleta Valley Community Plan area. I'll go ahead and read the previous comments. Architectural style, mass, bulk, and scale are appropriate. Project is compatible with adjacent development. Return with landscape and hardscape plan that incorporates planting in the front yard. Restudy second story deck, siding materials to consider solid wall and potentially also landscaping to protect privacy between neighbors. Board suggests breaking up unbroken 2-story wall with landscaping and other design feature and return with materials board. You can go ahead and state your name and give us your response to those comments.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. My name is Argi. I'm the designer and applicant for this project. Since the last conceptual review, The scope of the work here actually has decreased. As you can see in the site plan in the back, now we're only proposing exterior stairs, very minimal, just to be able to access the ADU on the second floor. So we're not doing the 120 square feet master bedroom addition in the back, and we're also we're not proposing the balcony, which I know on the conceptual review, there were some privacy concerns. So those two things are not going to be happening anymore. So we're only going to be limiting in the back. We're only adding the exterior stairs, and this is due to an issue we uncovered that would basically prevent us from getting a zoning variance for the addition in the back. So essentially now we only have the second floor ADU, 747 square feet, 2-bed, 2-bath. The front addition to the garage to expand the garage a little bit by 74 square feet, and also a living room addition in the front of 310 square feet to act as an additional living area with a bathroom. We are proposing a new citrus tree in the back, an orange tree, and in the front we're proposing some additional landscaping, drought-tolerant plants, native plants like sagebrush, manzanita, coyote brush, along with some flowering bushes or just some annual or seasonal flowers. As far as the light fixture in the back, there was a request to show the light. If you go to the next several pages. Yeah, so that's the demolition plan. Those are the existing site photos. That's the first floor plan. Yep, so you can see the garage, parking space for the main house and the parking space for the accessory dwelling unit, as well as you can see the floor plan of the addition in the front, the living area with a bathroom. And then moving on to the next page. And then the next page. Yeah, so that's the ADU floor plan. And you can see we're just proposing the staircase going up. Very minimal, 3.5 feet wide. So no balcony, no more balcony. That's the roof line. Yeah, so these are the elevations. The first one is the existing of what it looks like now, and the second one is what it would look, or what the proposed would look. All the additions, new roofing, everything is going to match the existing. So existing is stucco, so it will be same textured stucco. So everything is same style. We're not proposing to change the architectural style of the existing home. The existing home blends very well with the rest of the homes in the neighborhood, in the street. So, and this new addition is going to be very similar and follow the same architectural design patterns. And here is also one of the comments was to provide the light fixture. I was on the previous slide, but yeah, the light fixture above the ADU entry, and that's the light fixture we're proposing. So yeah, there you go. I think we've addressed the feedback, and we have decreased the scope. So
can I just get a clarification? Is there a
Yes.
landscape plan? I don't think we see one in our set.
There's no separate landscape plan. It's part of just the site plan. In the very beginning.
Okay, we'll move on to questions from the board. Does anyone have any other questions? No? Okay. Yeah. Gary.
So we've seen this before. What was it? What were the living room at the front? Is that new, or are we seeing that for the first time, or is that?
That was there before. The main difference besides the landscaping, the light fixture, and so on, the orange tree in the back, the main difference is the decrease of the scope. where previously in February we were proposing an addition in the back as well to expand the master bedroom and also create a balcony for the second floor. However, now we have removed that, so we're not proposing a balcony anymore, and we're not proposing an addition in the back anymore. The front additions are exactly the same as they appeared in the conceptual review on February 20th.
I have a quick question.
Okay.
So how do you access the ADU from the street? You go through the driveway and you go through the right, meaning the east side, and you go up. Is that the way you access the ADU?
Correct, right. So the resident would essentially park their car in the garage, since there's two garage spots, and then they would exit the garage, walk through the side yard, and then go up to their to the
So
ADU.
how wide is that side yard? That's 6 feet, or what do you have?
Yes, that's 6 feet.
6 feet.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you have a hedge? Do you have a hedge on that side, or what do you?
I believe so. We can look at the pictures. We do have some vegetation, but we're not proposing any additional vegetation there.
Okay.
Yeah. That's how I personally accessed the backyard. So it was there was plenty of room.
Any other questions?
I have just a question about the landscaping. You said, could you just describe what you guys are planning for the landscaping? You said it's on the site plan.
Yeah, so it's in the front yard. We're proposing a mix of native vegetation like sagebrush, manzanita, coyote brush, and similar brushes that are mostly drought tolerant, and also annual flowers, seasonal flowers, things like that. And in the backyard, just one new citrus tree.
Is that information on the plan, or is that just a description?
The specifics of exactly which plants is not on the plan.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
We'll move on to public comment. Is there anyone in the audience or online that would like to speak on this item?
Madam Chair, we have received no letters and we have nobody in our attendees column.
Okay, we'll close public comment and move on to comments from the board. Alex, go ahead.
It seems like architectural is a simple project, I guess, marginally acceptable, but acceptable indeed, especially if you don't look at the ADU, you don't look at the second floor. I think we need to call to landscape to the rescue. I think there are room to put things, to put some real trees, more than a fruit tree, to the right of the driveway, for instance, there's some other tree in the front. I'm not sure if there's some street trees or at least something in the back. It's, it's the low budget solution to this type of situation. So I think that we need a real landscape plan.
Val.
Yeah, that would be my feeling as well. And particularly along that side yard for screening and softening the two-story mass from the neighbor. There should be a landscape plan.
Jerry.
I apologize. I'm seeing this for the first time. I'm fairly new to the board, so what was the comments about the that long entryway going in? I mean,
The
are we
whole
allowed to go back and
side,
ask questions about that, or is that just kind of we done with that?
Technically, we're supposed to stick with the comments that were previously made. I was seeing if any related to that.
It's just, yeah, it's outrageously long. You know, if the long-term plan was to make that front living room a JADU, I can see why you'd want to do that. Otherwise, if you weren't doing that, then, you know, I would hope you could pull the entry back more towards the front, but
Yeah, that it's so deep in there.
yeah, a dark kind of canyon, but
I was gonna, is it the ADU that's causing that or the design? Huh?
no, it's that living room addition. But
we try not to add new comments at prelim final, but I think you can make the comment. It's just, yeah, it'll be commented as a one-time.
Okay, that would be my strong kind of hesitation with this, is just that the aesthetic that's happening from that front addition, but yeah.
Robert?
Yeah, I don't think I was here when this got initially reviewed, so, I guess I kind of agree. It's pretty awkward having this like corridor kind of space between the building like that, but, um, like Alex said, landscape to the rescue. Why don't you bring us some cool landscape plan for how to like make this into a nice space? Because right now it's just kind of like the notion of a landscape without actually describing what it is.
Here.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is a really forward project. I think there's things that could be improved, but I think it's an acceptable architectural addition of the ADU and a nice way to tie it all together. So yeah, there's like a few design concerns, but I don't know that you need to redo everything at this point. And then as far as the landscape plan, what you were describing sound actually pretty good. If you could put that on the plan in a way that that's understandable and kind of holds the people who are doing this and contractors to account, because not just that you have an existing landscape, of course, with a mishmash of things, but it's going to get torn up. It's going to be a dirt lot during construction. So not a dirt lot, but the whole landscape's going to get pretty much destroyed. So we need some level of landscape. We're not asking for high level design or architectural digest type landscape plan, but we're just some level of organized landscape plan for this would go a long way. Thank you.
All right, I agree with the previous comments. I'm trying to recall what this looked like. It's always tricky when we can't see the last round of plans to see how it's changed, but it sounds like it was mostly a reduction in scope. I agree that I think this deserves a landscape plan, at least for the front yard, and potentially screening along the access pathway setback. So this is here for preliminary final. I don't think it's ready for final because it needing the additional details of the landscape plan. Is the
Ready to make a motion for preliminary approval. I think the landscape should also have, I'm not sure what those trees, there's a big circle in there. I'm not sure what that is. It should be clarified that that's a large tree that addresses the new mass or what. I think that the landscape should address the whole site because, not just the little corner, the southwest corner. I think it should address the whole site.
Yeah.
That's my take. I'm not sure if I'm alone on that.
Or the site will get put back together.
Yeah, but anyway, the motion will be to for final for the approval of the excuse me, preliminary approval of the architecture and the final to return with a landscape plan.
Okay, do we have a second?
Add additional details, architectural details.
What's it?
Add additional architectural details.
Architectural details. Okay, very good.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
Sorry, to clarify, is that full board?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we're switching to item number 5. No, we're going to go to item 6. Well, I was going to say we're switching chairs, but then I thought, I'm not going to move. So this is the Fay new single-family dwelling. Request of Brian Banks, agent for the owner, Ken and Tina Fay Family Trust, to consider case number 26 BAR 00029 for conceptual review of a new 8,720 square foot 2-story residence, 775 square foot attached garage, 800 square foot detached garage, swimming pool, landscaping. The following structures exist on the parcel: a 6,564 square foot residence, 1,812 square foot garage, and 700 square foot guest house, all to be demolished. The proposed project will require approximately 1,075 cubic yards of cut and the same amount of fill. It's a 3.02 acre parcel at 4475 Via Abrigada. So go ahead and state your name and make your presentation.
Thank you. Thank you. Brian Banks, agent for the owners, Ken and Tina Fey, who are with us in attendance. Good to see you all. We have Don here for architecture, Derek for landscape architecture, and I can just take you through real quick where we've been. Hope Ranch. So we have had our Hope Ranch conceptual review, and we've received approval for that. Excuse me. As part of Hope Ranch review, as your board likely knows, they story pole everything. So we do have photos of the installed story poles for your review. I think Jonathan will have those in the project folder. We can bring them up at the appropriate time. Pretty straightforward project in terms of site development. The replacement home is going principally where the existing footprint of the existing structure is. We do have a small pop-up room that would be the second story element, but like 85% of the house maintains single story. One oak tree that is going to get impacted likely for fire department access improvements. We're preserving the first portion of the driveway. We're going to need to do some improvements to meet current fire department standards and turnarounds and that sort of thing. So we do have Duke engaged looking at that, but we don't have the full plans, civil plans and stuff ready for our arborist report kind of level. That's it in a nutshell. We'll turn it over to Don.
Hi. The photos, can we go back to the photos, just briefly go over those? The upper left is the gate situation we have today. There's a brick driveway that's in good condition. There's gates and infrastructure there. We're going to keep a lot of that and probably change the style, plaster it, and there'll be new gates. Second picture to the right is the existing drive. As soon as you turn into the property, you head straight and you get these lovely views of the trees. The lower left photo is when you look back to the north, there's a mountain view you have, and it's quite nice. The middle picture, the tennis court that's currently there, we're proposing to remove. And the bottom left, when you keep approaching on the drive, that you start to see the house, and which is a 1 and 2 story house. There's a portion of this 2 story, and then from the middle picture in the rear is another view from the property. Bottom right picture is the ocean sunset. It's a beautiful site for the ocean, mountains, and sunset. So the house design is trying to capture all of those elements. You want to go into the site plan?
For context, Don. Excuse me, Jonathan, if you can pull it back up just for neighbor, it might, if you could zoom in on the story pole key, I'm sorry, the photograph key in the upper right. Yeah, that one. Then you can kind of get a relationship of the neighbors next door, because I know that that's something that's important to see. So you can kind of see where our existing residences and new residents kind of lined up on that same knoll, ocean view, actually ocean and mountain views.
Back to the first plan drawing. Yeah, you can see the parcel. The clients own the lower parcel as well, but development is being limited to the upper parcel where we're showing that existing house. The existing drive works for a way for us, but then you'll see in the new plans that we're going to revise that driveway, and it has some minimum impact to an oak or two that we'll talk about later. This whole home will be removed, and at the south side of that, you'll see the double line there. That's a stone retaining wall that was put in to give a level yard there some years ago, and that will be replaced with the new grading for the backyard. Next drawing. Okay, so that's our proposed site plan. You can see how the drive, we're straightening the drive, and it's fairly steep in the front. That's why we're here, because we're in the Hillside Ridgeline District, so there's the fall of more than 16 feet. So we're creating a new auto court there, and we're about 5 or 6 feet of fill at the worst part there. So we're using a couple of low stone walls in that upper left corner of the auto court, and that will bring guests arriving to the center of the house, and we're entering through a courtyard. And on either side of the courtyard, we have a guest room and gym, and the other side is a garage. So if you're coming up the drive, you swing to the left, pull into the garage. And then also there's you can swing to the left for an additional garage for vehicles and storage of bikes and such. How the house lays out, you enter into the courtyard to the entry and look through the house through the swimming pool and the island views. To the left, we have the kitchen, family, and the principal bedroom is on the far east side of the house, on the right side. On the west side, we developed more for guests, the sitting room and guest bedrooms. Go to.
You might want to point out the tennis court.
Yeah, the tennis court we're removing it, and we have not planned for the development of that, but it will in further development. You're going to see a conceptual landscape plan today, and if you have any questions about that, we can go over that. Do the elevations. That plan's fine. So you can see there's a small second story. You can see how the roof lines, we're using 12 and 14 plates at the highest of the main floor, and they break out to 12-foot plate heights, and then 11, and then 10 foot as we get to the perimeter of the building. The upper drawing there shows a small room we have for viewing, and there's a guest bedroom on the top floor, and a little covered roof just to enjoy the mountain and ocean views. So let's go to, can you scroll up a bit? Yeah, so the bottom view is the entry. You're looking into the courtyard, and there's 3 arches and you actually reach the house, and there'll be a wall with gates closing that view off. But for this purpose, I wanted to be behind the walls of the courtyard. And from the central location, you can see the second story bedroom, and on either side is a covered terrace, and then a bathroom for that guest room. Onto the left side, you'll see of the courtyard is the family room. Further to the left on that bottom drawing is the main bedroom wing and bathroom. And we have 10 and 11-foot plates out there. On the far right is where we break out to 2 other guest rooms. We're using 10 and 11-foot plates there. The very top view, you can scroll down. That's the south facing. We have a lot of glass on this side, a lot of large openings, taking the water, and we're trying to mask and through the use of gables and ridges, and have a very sympathetic to the style to the Santa Barbara local vernacular that Hope Ranch likes to see developed. And the other 2 views are the lower left there on that drawing is the views from the east, and looking at the bedroom on the left and the 3-car garage. And then on the lower right drawing, you see the guest wing of the house, and then the second story beyond. I'm going to go to the landscape plan.
So starting down at the gate, which John showed you in the photos, we go up the driveway. The driveway gets widened approximately 2 feet on either side for a fire truck access. We have some olive trees running up the driveway. Where it starts to curve after that 5th olive tree, that's about where the driveway changes direction. And you can see we have 3 stacked retaining walls in the corner of the northwest corner of the motor court. We need those just to get that level. The existing area there is about 6 or 7 feet below our proposed grade. We have some olive trees along the front. You can go into the secondary motor court. We've got a split driveway there with a planting island to kind of soften the overall sense of paving. And you can swing back to that garage, to either the garage at the house or the secondary garage, as Don was showing you. You can see our fire truck access is up in that area as well. We have numerous outdoor terraces around the perimeter of the house. They're shaded in a tan color. We have a new swimming pool in the back. You could scroll up just a little bit. There you go. At the west end, it has a covered trellis. It's hard to see, but so we get some shade over there when people are out using the pool. And we have a sort of modest sized lawn for a house this size, little parterre garden at the east end as well. And then to the west end. Then the east bedroom wing, we developed a kind of a series of gardens. There's some outdoor terrace spaces, this fountain, a little probably dog run area to the southeast. And then we've developed a kind of just a interesting garden that's off the bedroom. It'll also have a secondary covered trellis. Probably have some palm trees there because there are views to the northeast and to the northwest there, which are pretty astounding. So that's the general gist of it.
And then Jonathan, if you could, probably the time to view the story pole photos now that the board kind of understands the project. So if you can go back one slide just to the, so this, just to orient yourself, this would be looking to the south east. So at the existing driveway, and you can kind of see, I think in the upper right, you'll see the poles as we move through. But so as Don said, existing driveway, the gates, we're going to try to save as much of that as possible. But you can see how much screening there is. So it is kind of interesting that when we were looking at the hillside ridgeline trigger to see if we had to come to SBAR, we were really focused on the south side, the ocean side. And then we realized this is actually what puts us in the hillside ridgeline classification is this north side. But just wanted to point out it's very well screened, very minimal view from the street there. Okay, so next one, please, Jonathan. Pretty self-explanatory, the existing attached garage. And each wing of the house coming out, so this would be looking off to the east, pretty much straight to the east. Okay, next one. What northeast view from the rear of the house. Okay, next one. Pretty much straight on view to the north. You can see the second story element there. Next one. This would be from the western kind of portion of the lot, looking up. Next one. This would be from the east side along the panhandle portion of the vacant lot below. Again, the phase own that property. So this is essentially the driveway to the lower property. And of course, there's the tennis court. So this is the garage, obviously the detached garage. The tennis court would go away. I think there's one more, and this is from the view from below, from the south, looking back up at the site. That's it.
Okay, thank you. So now, how about questions from the board? Anybody have some questions?
I have one question. Can you go to the site plan? What's the purpose of that big space on the upper, deep paved area with a retaining wall, it looks like, or on the upper left? Yeah. Yeah, what is that exactly? Is it a parking area or what is it?
Motor court.
Is it what?
Motor court.
A motor court.
It's where the entry to the house is.
I see. Okay. And the other pavings are for additional. Oh, I see. I can see the turnaround, the fire truck turnaround.
Fire department. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And what about that other? Looks like the other on the on the east, what is that other asphalt area? Is that also additional parking?
That's access to the additional garage.
It's a garage there. Okay, all right, great, thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
In this plan, the entry courtyard, it looks like those are larger trees, but if I look at the elevations from Dawn, it looks like they're more taller, more slender Italian cypresses. Is that?
Distinction between olives and what you've drawn in.
Oh,
We got to get on the same page.
Oh, Don doesn't draw olives.
Only vertical.
So
Refuse to draw
just curious, which direction are you thinking?
Is direct.
Okay, Derek's direction. Okay.
Well, it's our attempt at drawing olive trees. It's a Mediterranean planting plan that loves the climate in our area.
That was mistreated. Any other questions?
Where the existing garage was on the, I guess it'd be the west side, lower west side, and you guys are removing that. That's just intended to be additional landscaping now or
Yes.
buffer now? Okay.
Where the existing retaining wall is on the south side of the house, you were describing that wall is being removed? And then what is the intent to
Can you go back to the landscape
right
plan?
down there? Or-
Well, we're doing soils work right now, and we're finding that most likely uncompacted work there. So those walls will be taken out and maybe moved south. We might under the further developed plans, we may capture more of that land to the south and have a fill slope that. Yeah, we're talking a 2 to 3 foot low wall and then berming up to a level yard.
You're gonna require a new wall out there is what you're describing.
The property line is, you can see the PL, it's the lower rock wall there. 10, 20 feet down is the property line, there's a PL there. So there's a lot of land still on this parcel. And of course, the lower lot is another lot owned by the Fays.
I think the history of that was there was some erosion. And so they got like a permit it's just dry stacked, like sandstone. So it's not really an engineered wall. So we'll have to figure out, what we need to do engineering wise, but it won't be, that's only like maybe 4 foot differential between the bottom of the wall and the rear yard area where like the pool deck elevation is it's not very steep.
So the pool is like on existing grade out there?
Pretty much, but with caissons.
Any other questions? I have a question about the lot below. In the photo, it looks pretty bare. Do you have plans to plant it or do anything with it?
We'll keep it trimmed for the fire department mitigation, but
You have the photo? I guess it was in the story pole.
Yeah, the story pole one, the last page of
Yeah.
the story pole is the most.
Yeah, it just looks very bare.
garden there.
There's actually avocado and yeah, you can see it in the like Google aerial imagery. So there's some avos on it. This is the northern portion of that southern lot that there's some little, like veggie garden, former little veggie garden things that's in the foreground.
Okay. So is there any public comment?
Madam Chair, we have received no letters and we have nobody online.
Okay. And so when you went through Hope Ranch, they saw your story poles and gave you a
We were all at the site, and 3 of the board of directors were also there.
Uh-huh.
That came to the hearing and didn't hear of any concerns.
Great. Okay.
The only, Val, just to recap that again, the only question or what they wanted us to return with was the arborist report. That was one thing that, and for us to return to get their preliminary, always one step ahead with Hope Ranch. So when we return for their preliminary, they're going to require that we have the arborist report. So that was kind of the main, and then of course, finishing up, the site, landscaping stuff. So those were their 2 primary comments for us to come back with.
So then let's move on to comments from the board. You always get to start.
Can we go to the elevations, please? Yeah. Yeah, and it's a complex project, has a lot of twists and turns and different elements, but I think it's very lovely done, yeah, very, very artistic. You can see that Don still knows how to draw. Okay.
Even if he doesn't do well.
Yeah, right. No, I have no negative comments. It seems like an appropriate development, and I look forward to see the details and everything else. Thank you.
Okay, here.
Yeah, I agree with the positive comments there. I think it's close to a slam dunk for an architectural improvement or a replacement project. And the way the plans are prepared, at least at this conceptual level, it's really easy to understand the whole project. So thanks for that. I guess the couple quick comments. I mean, yeah, obviously we'll like to see the finalized landscape plans, but at this level, it's looking really nicely laid out and well thought out. I think the driveway layout, maybe there's a question there about how people will know to turn into the motor court as opposed to go the other direction, but I'm sure you guys will work that out. There's an opportunity to potentially reduce the amount of driveway. It looks like the hammerhead's taking up a bit of space, and it looks like you guys will have plenty of parking. Not really sure on the day-to-day use, but it looks like if the garage shop on the east side has any ability to shift around potentially to reduce just the apparent size of the driveway, it looks like a really big footprint and maybe overly complex, but I think it's just something to look at a little closer. And then the other comment would just be on the south side. I think the pool is really nicely placed and things, but it's pretty exposed. Just the addition of, I think, just the point of trees and looking at more shade elements, but I'm sure that will be worked out as well. So look forward to seeing all those details.
Okay, Jerry?
Unlike the last project we looked at, I think the entry courtyard's beautiful. It's gracious. The whole house on the side is gracious. I think it's a lovely house. My comment about the trees was because I think when you look at the front elevation, there's some nice proportions to it, but the trees might crowd that entryway a little bit. So I thought maybe whether you reduce the scale of the trees or you expand the width of the courtyard a little bit. But would go to the Jonathan, would you go to the front elevation, please? So looking at the lower front elevation, I think the house does a really nice job at rising from the lower play heights to I guess the east and the west, all the way up to that center kind of two-story mass. My thinking was just spreading that just a little bit more just for graciousness, but that's pretty minor, I think. And then on the south side, I'd say it'd be interesting to see how you kind of manage the sun. You got a lot of glass on that south side, so there didn't see any overhangs or anything like that. So with all that glass, just managing the sun is going to be something that you're going to kind of work through a little bit. But I think overall, generally beautiful, very beautiful architecture.
Okay, Rob?
Yeah, I agree with the positive comments. The house is beautiful. I think the landscape plan is great with the way we've created all these terrace spaces around the house, the entry courtyard that's really successful. I agree with the comment that the driveway and the motor court and the amount of paving seems like it's a lot of one type of paving. So maybe there's a way of creating some hierarchy in the paving. Maybe the motor court becomes a different material and the driveway kind of reads secondary to it, and that helps to flush that out. And yeah, I think some more information about kind of how the pool ends up fitting in with the topography will be great to see as you further develop it. Also, I was looking at the pool area, just thinking I think it'd be good to see how the furniture fits around the pool. I always like to see that there's enough space to actually like entertain around a pool area. for that purpose rather than like looking at the pool. So I would study that part of it. But yeah, it's gonna be a beautiful home, and I think the landscape plan really nicely accommodates the layout of the house, and they work together with, you got a beautiful site there too, so I only have positive comments for you.
May I make a comment?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'll go ahead and make comments and then you can speak. But I am in agreement with everything that's been said, that it's very gracious and elegant the way it's been designed. You can picture the quality of the gardens and the proportions of the house and the way you've stepped up the high plate side rooms to nestle the second story in and kind of crescendo the middle of the house. It's really nicely done. I agree too about, if there was any way to tuck the second garage back or shorten the amount of paving and then make it really clear the motor court with a change of material or whatever that really leads visitors to know that's where they want to go. But it's a very nice project on a nice piece of land. And it really is, it's like a plateau at the top, right? Because it's just dropping down both directions.
You don't think about the north side when you go to the property. It's all about the
You're
ocean.
looking toward the ocean.
Like you are
You're on a pinnacle kind of, yeah, spine. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Comment,
go
if
ahead.
you could scroll to the top drawing, I just wanted to make a comment that right there, the
Top elevation.
yeah, on the right side there, that's under a covered arbor there. So there's the doors to the right of the 2-story.
Oh, yeah.
It's all under a 12-foot covered roof.
I see
So
that now.
to get some shade and shadow outdoor living. So that's really, really key for south-facing living
Yeah.
in our area.
Yep.
That's it.
Okay, great. Well, it seems like come back preliminary, final, full board.
We got a fair bit of work to do, as you will
Yeah.
see in a little, it'll be a little while.
Oh, you can come to the next meeting. Just kidding.
Thank you all. It's good to
Thank
see you
you.
all.
Thank you.